This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. This is great. Xiao Minghui laughed and stepped forward. Sect Master Tan is indeed incisive. It's rare that you can make this old fogey, Gao Lin, so angry. Tan Dijuan stroked his goat beard and chuckled. He's asking for death. I only scolded him a little this time. Next time, I'll just kill him with a slap. His words shocked Xiao Minghui. He seemed to have sensed something, but he could not grasp it. Zhang Linghua's sudden advancement to the rank of a martial supreme had caused the Big Dipper sect to immediately rise above all the local forces. They had already become the leader of the local forces. A chasm began to appear between them and the other forces, and they felt as if they were high and mighty. Tan Dijuan had come to visit Mo Huayuan, but at this moment, he seemed to have forgotten his original intention. Instead, he turned his eyes to Yunxiao and said playfully, "This little brother looks familiar, have I seen him before?" Mo Huayuan and Han Xuan's expressions changed at the same time. Even Xiao Minghui could tell that something was wrong. He fixed his eyes on Yunxiao. He had only been a little confused about the manservant, but he did not expect that he would attract Tan Dijuan's attention. Moreover, Tan Dijuan always addressed himself as this sect master when he was talking to Gao Lin, but he actually addressed this man as this Tan. The atmosphere in the room was so quiet that it was a little strange, and everyone's eyes were focused on Yunxiao. Yunxiao was sure that Tan Dijuan had seen through him, so he didn't care anymore. He was going to use the teleportation array, and his identity would be exposed sooner or later. It doesn't matter whether I've seen him or not, but shouldn't I fulfill my promise conditions? Tan Dijuan chuckled. He had finally confirmed that it was Yunxiao, and he was pleasantly surprised. The Big Dipper sect was searching for him with all their might. Not only was the lightning transformation divine technique on him, but the treasure map was also on him. He immediately laughed and said, "If you don't fulfill your promise, how can you fulfill the conditions?" Yunxiao frowned and said coldly, "What a joke. I only agreed to help you, and I even heavily injured him. How could I not do it?" It seems that Mr. Tan's memory has deteriorated after becoming the vice sect leader. Ping Yingyi's expression changed drastically. "So it's you." Xiao Minghui pondered for a moment and seemed to have thought of something. His eyes revealed a look of horror. Tan Dijuan smiled embarrassedly. "Your memory hasn't changed. It's just that we couldn't find you no matter how hard we tried. It turns out that you're with the great grandmaster. No wonder." As soon as he said this, everyone immediately understood who the person in front of them was. Mei Dong, in particular, was so excited that she couldn't control herself. You, is it really you? You're Li Yunxiao?" She did not know his name until the Big Dipper sect began to track him down. In order to prevent Yunxiao from falling into the hands of the Big Dipper sect, she had taken the initiative to apply to participate in the search. She had been searching for him day and night, but she had found nothing. However, she had been commended by the sect for her great contribution. During this period of time, she would have nightmares every night. She dreamed that the figure had escaped with serious injuries, collapsed in some unknown corner, and disappeared. She was scared awake by her dreams every night, and then she cried. Yingrong saw that her condition was getting worse and worse, so she asked her to come out with Tan Dijuan to attend the auction, as a way to relax. However, she did not expect that the heavens would not let down the faithful. She finally met that person here and even said his name. Yunxiao removed the disguise on his face and restored his original appearance. "Yes, my name is Li Yunxiao." You didn't die, that's really great." Mei Dong didn't know what to say for a moment. Big drops of tears rolled down her face. She was afraid that others would see them, so she hurriedly wiped them away. "Your performance that day was wonderful," Yunxiao praised. "I was in a hurry that day, so I'll add a word of praise." These words made Mei Dong's tears fall like rain. In front of everyone, she wanted to control her tears, but she couldn't do it. Her face was red from shyness, making her look even cuter. I don't think you're allowed to hook up with the female disciples of my Big Dipper sect in the conditions I promised you, Tiandang said. When Mei Dong heard the vice sect leader's words, she turned her head away shyly. However, the tears on her eyelashes flickered with happiness. I can't help it, Yunxiao sighed. A man like me, no matter where I hide, is like a firefly in the dark. It's even harder to not be liked than to break through to the martial supreme realm. Tiandang laughed and said, you really have the guts to say that. Since I've found you, I won't hide anymore. I need you to cooperate with us on two things. You have to cooperate with me on these two matters, whether you want to or not. So domineering, Yunxiao said. Are we cooperating with you or the Big Dipper sect? Tiandang gazed at him and said, the Big Dipper sect. These three words immediately represented his current position. It seemed like Tiandang had been completely convinced by Zhang Linghua and was now wholeheartedly working for the Big Dipper sect. Sure. Yunxiao said, but pay me what you owe me first, and then we'll talk about cooperation. As for whether I'm willing or not, it'll depend on the chips you offer. Even in the holy city of Misty Snow, they can't force me to do things I don't want to do, let alone the Big Dipper sect. These words were too big, making everyone's faces change greatly. Tiandang's eyes flickered. He knew that Yunxiao's background was not simple, but he had no idea what it was. Now that he said such things, he didn't know if he was just bragging or if he had such great confidence. He was a little hesitant. When he first found Yunxiao, his plan was to bring him back to the Big Dipper sect no matter what, even if he had to capture him alive. Now, he had some concerns and said bluntly, we can settle our conditions. However, you must agree to the two conditions of my Big Dipper sect. Otherwise, I don't intend to give you what I owe you. Yunxiao could not help but curse, what a bitch. What are your conditions? Tell me now, and you'll get some benefits. The 5 billion mid-grade primordial stones that Tiandang had promised him was an astronomical figure, and he needed it very much, so he had to take a step back. Tiandang glanced at the other people in the room. Xiao Minghui frowned and said, if it's inconvenient, my new moon sect will step aside. Tiandang waved his hand and said, it's okay. It's not a big secret. People will know about it sooner or later. He said to Yunxiao, the first is to hand over the legacy of the Thunder Transformation Divine Skill. It is the most precious treasure of my Big Dipper sect, and it can't be taught to outsiders. But, since you have learned it, it's fine. I won't pursue the matter on the account that you've found the most precious treasure for the Big Dipper sect. The second thing is to return to me the item I gave you that day. Yunxiao thought for a moment and said, each of these two things is worth 20 billion mid-grade primordial stones. If you want them, give me the primordial stones. Plus what you owe me, it'll be 45 billion in total. I won't do it if I miss one. Everyone was so shocked that they broke out in cold sweat. Jean Xian thought to herself, even the entire Purple Cloud Trade Union can't afford 45 billion medial-grade primordial stones, unless they sell a lot of their assets. Mo Huayuan also wiped his cold sweat. He had always thought that he was rich, but now it seemed that he was still a country bumpkin meeting a rich man. Xiao Minghui, on the other hand, was much calmer. He had heard of the Thunder Transformation Divine Skill before. It was not expensive at all to be worth 20 billion mid-grade primordial stones. Even if the price was 10 times or dozens of times higher, there would still be people who would buy it. If he wasn't afraid of offending the Big Dipper sect, he would have bid higher on the spot. As for the other thing that they mentioned, they would be very curious. They wondered what other thing could be worth so many metastones other than the Peerless cultivation method. You really dare to bid? Tiandang sneered. You secretly learned the unique technique of my Big Dipper sect. It's already a great favor that I didn't cripple your cultivation. How dare you ask for a price? As for the item I gave you that day, you'll have to return it with both hands on the account of such a great bargain. Otherwise, the Big Dipper sect will take back your lightning transformation divine technique. His tone became even colder as he openly threatened. The atmosphere in the box suddenly became tense, and Mei Dong was shocked. All the Big Dipper sect disciples present were experts, and if a fight really broke out later, she really did not know what she should do. Should she help Yunxiao? He definitely had to help. She said to herself firmly. But how could she help him escape? This innocent little girl had already started to think too much. Humph. Yunxiao snorted and said, Tiandijuan, I thought you were a smart man. It's tiring to talk to idiots. Even Zhang Linghua couldn't make me stay, do you think you can? Didn't you try enough that day? Due to your stupidity, the price has risen to 50 billion. You coward. Tiandijuan was furious, and his face turned livid as he stared at Yunxiao. But, as Yunxiao had said, even his senior brother, a martial sovereign of the ninth heaven, had failed to keep the man. Furthermore, he was already unable to capture him before he even used the lightning transformation divine art. If he used it, he probably wouldn't even be able to catch his shadow. He did not know that the thunder transformation skill required a large amount of Yiwood Qi to be consumed. The poor Yunxiao had run out of Yiwood Qi that he had obtained from the eternal evergreen tree, so he could not use the thunder transformation skill at the moment. You're so stupid, Yunxiao sneered coldly. You have to pay tuition. Tiandijuan was so angry that his brocade robe couldn't help but flutter with the true energy in his body. A faint mist appeared around him as if he was going to attack at any time. What annoyed him the most was that no matter how he attacked, he couldn't hurt his opponent. Today is the auction of the Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce. If you two want to talk about business, why don't we do it another day? The auction is about to begin, so don't miss out on the good stuff. The atmosphere in front of Xiao Minghui was awkward. A fight was about to break out, so Xiao Minghui hurriedly came out to smooth things over. Alright, we'll talk about it after the auction is over for Sect Master Zhao's sake. Tiandijuan nodded. The aura on his body gradually retracted back into his body, and his state of mind gradually calmed down. Yunxiao did not bother to continue bickering with him, but he was laughing in his heart. He could already see a large amount of primeval stones rolling in. Although the lightning transformation divine technique was extremely wondrous, he didn't mind teaching it to others. Moreover, this thing originally belonged to the Big Dipper sect. As for the treasure map, he still didn't know what was hidden in it. Since it had already been taken by someone before him once, or even twice, there probably wouldn't be anything good left. If it could be exchanged for a large number of primordial stones, he would be very happy to. 50 billion medial-grade primordial stones, together with the ones provided by the Purple Cloud Trade Union and the ones he had plundered from Mo Huayuan, were enough to support his cultivation and breakthrough to the Martial Emperor realm, or even higher. After a brief silence in the room, the auction finally began. The crowd looked over and saw an old man with his hands behind his back standing on the ring in front of them. He was in high spirits and looked like an immortal. This man was the president of the Sky Crane Business Council, Fang Tianhe. Under everyone's gaze, he smiled proudly and said, I'm sure many people will be surprised by the auction today. I've been entrusted by President Gao Lin to host this auction. The auction item is very simple. There's only one thing, and that's the recording needle. A recording needle? The people below immediately became restless, and all kinds of discussions broke out. Everyone was whispering to each other, and everyone was guessing. Xiao Minghui smiled and said, this is interesting. I wonder where the needle is pointing to. It actually requires a huge auction. Everyone had the same thought. The recording needle was actually a very simple tool. However, it contained spatial power, and once it pointed to a spatial coordinate, no matter where you were, the pointer would point to the established coordinate. It was usually used for marking and had no valuable use. What kind of recording needle is worth auctioning? Could it be the newly discovered Southern Fire Golden Crystal Mine? A man couldn't help but shout. Another man immediately retorted, if it's a mineral, wouldn't the Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce dig it themselves? What's the point of slapping it? Fang Tianhe smiled and said, this friend is right. It is a mine. What? Auctioning off the mineral resources? This time, everyone was shocked. Mineral resources were basically the gathering point of conflicts between various forces. They were extremely precious. Any mineral resource could only be obtained by sprinkling a large amount of martial artists' blood. Who would be so stupid as to take it out for auction? Tan Dijuan and Xiao Minghui's faces changed. The mountains around South Fire City had long been divided up by the major forces. It would be fine if the ore source that the other party was auctioning was the mining area of the Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce. However, if it was the mining area of a local force, it would be a complete war. Everyone, please calm down. This auction is not only about the mineral resources. According to our speculations, there is also a large amount of Southern Fire golden crystal essence. Fang Tianhe's words suddenly caused the mood of the entire auction house to completely explode. All of a sudden, everyone stood up in shock. Southern Fire golden crystal source? I didn't hear wrong? Even a Southern Fire golden crystal mine might not be able to contain such a thing. What's going on? Why didn't they excavate the mine? Is the Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce that short of money? I understand now. Zhang Linghua's advancement to the rank of a Marshal Supreme has put pressure on the Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce. They want to leave South Fire City, so they've thrown away all the mineral resources they have. It can't be. As one of the 7 executive members of the Merchant Union, the Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce must have a martial emperor in their headquarters. Why can't they send 1 or 2 here? Send 1 or 2. Do you think martial emperors are cabbages planted by your family, with hundreds of them in 1 mu of land? Then what's going on? It can't be that they're auctioning off the mineral resources of other forces, right? Isn't that a sign of war? It was already a mess below. In a few big boxes, there were many people from local forces gathered. All of them looked serious and murderous. Everyone seemed to smell the strong smell of gunpowder and began to gradually calm down. The entire auction house was like a bomb, as if it would explode at any time. The person in charge of the Sky Scorpion sect was the deputy sect leader, Chu Zhiming. He opened the jade silk fan in his hand and gently waved it. He pretended to be relaxed, but his expression was extremely serious. Vice sect leader, it seems that Fang Tianhe is going to auction our local mine. What should we do? An elder beside him said in a deep voice. No hurry. Let's check out the Big Dipper sect's movements first. Sun Jiming said with a grave tone. We don't need to be the first to take action, we just need to wait for the opportunity. After Zhang Linghua broke through to the Martial Supreme Realm, the local forces had already subconsciously taken the Big Dipper sect as their leader. Fang Tianhe felt the solemnness of the whole place and said with a smile, everyone is thinking too much. The mineral veins around South Fire City have long been divided. No matter how much the Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce and my Sky Crane Chamber of Commerce dare to offend the world, they won't dare to rashly auction off other people's mineral resources. Also, everyone has misunderstood. We're only auctioning the recording needle. That ore source is from an ownerless land. Land without an owner? All the ore veins in the surroundings have long been divided up, so there's no land without an owner. The unowned lands, could it be? Could it be the dead land? This time everyone's expression changed. In the private room, Tan Dijuan suddenly slammed his palm on the table, shattering the Nanma wood into pieces. The wood chips rolled around, and the chi in his palm was surging. It was obvious that he was extremely shocked. Why are you so excited, Sect Master Tan? Xiao Minghui asked in surprise. That dead land was originally an uninhabited land, and its resources were dried up. It had long been investigated by the major forces, and there was nothing there. That was why it was listed separately when it was divided, and no one wanted it. I've not imagined that Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce could find mineral resources in that place. But why don't they excavate it themselves? Yunxiao knew why Dijuan Tan was so angry. The place recorded on the treasure map was in the Dead Land, and Dijuan Tan had once found the source of Southern Fire golden crystal in that place. Sure enough, Fang Tianhe said, the source of the mine is inside the Dead Land. The Land of Death is extremely dangerous, but it's nothing to the Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce, a man said loudly. You have enough power to mine for it, and it's a land without an owner, so you should be mining it in secret. Why do you make it so convenient for others? This is a trade secret. I can't tell you. Fong Tian, he said with a mysterious smile, we have already confirmed that there is a southern fire golden crystal essence in it. However, it's just a mayfly. There is a great risk in it. After discussion with many leaders of our Chamber of Commerce, we feel that it is too risky to mine it. Therefore, we have announced this matter and recorded the auction of the pointer. Anyone with the ability can get it. I see. However, even your Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce doesn't dare to mine it. If we go there, won't we just be courting death? A local martial artist said angrily, I'm afraid your goal is to use us as cannon fodder and open up a path for you. The rest of the people were awakened by his words and revealed expressions of understanding. Fong Tianhe said coldly, if it wasn't too dangerous, would we give up such a good opportunity? I've given you a chance, but it's up to you to decide if you want it or not. Wealth was obtained from danger, and the greater the risk, the greater the benefits. As for opening the way for us, isn't that a joke? Everyone knows the current situation, and everyone's opportunities are equal, so how can you say that they're cannon fodder? Do you want our Chamber of Commerce to pave the way for you and be your cannon fodder? Is that reasonable? His words immediately made the local forces speechless. It was indeed the case. Everyone had equal opportunities, and no one forced them to go or not. Humph. The man snorted coldly again, how would I know the mineral content of your ore source and how dangerous it is? Also, who can guarantee that I'll believe what you said? If it's just a trap to lure everyone over and you kill them, what should we do? Fong Tianhe's eyes were full of killing intent as he said angrily, the Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce and the Sky Crane Chamber of Commerce have great reputations. When have they ever sold fake news? As for trash like you, it doesn't make much of a difference whether you go or not. Even if the danger level is low, it's still a fatal danger for trash like you. The cultivator's face was red with shame and anger, and the crowd's hearts calmed down a little. Although the Chamber of Commerce and the local forces were constantly fighting, their reputation was indeed good, and they would never lie to their customers. Fong Tianhe saw that everyone's doubts were gradually solved, and then he said, there are a total of 300 recording needles in this auction, and every 10 will be sold in a package. There was a natural illusion in the Deadland, and one could not leave without a recording needle. Don't dream of having several people using the same needle. After entering the illusionary realm, everyone will be alone, and it's impossible to share the needle. His words immediately shattered the thoughts of some rogue cultivators who were planning to work together to obtain a few treasures, and many of them began to frown. 300 needles. Other than the internal members of the Chamber of Commerce, there were only 300 places for the outside world. It was estimated that all of them would be divided up by the big sects. Jin Xian, who was in the private room, had a gloomy face and did not say a word. She didn't know anything about these things, which meant that the Purple Cloud Trade Union had been completely excluded from these trade unions. Both her and Wu Chen's faces were extremely ugly. Tan Dijuan looked at Yunxiao with a profound look, his eyes full of inquiry. He was a little confused now. He didn't know if the mineral source discovered by the Chamber of Commerce was related to the treasure map passed down by the North Scorpion sect. If it was, he would be in big trouble. Yunxiao shook his head slightly, as he was even more confused. After a moment of silence, he sent a secret voice transmission to Dijuan Tan and said, let's take a picture of the needle first. If the direction is exactly the same as the one on the map, we'll make our move early. Even if there is a southern fire golden crystal essence, this kind of thing requires several thousand years of nurturing in the southern fire golden crystal mine to produce a small amount. Even if there is a lot, we will only send a few of us to sneak in and see the situation. If we can't obtain it even with the strength of a few experts, then no matter how many of us there are, we will still be unable to obtain it. Tan Dijuan's heart moved, and he said, yes, that should be the case. He felt a little more at ease, but the look on his face grew more solemn. Yunxiao was both intelligent and powerful, which made him more and more confused. He suddenly felt that dealing with Yunxiao was much more troublesome and difficult than dealing with the treasure.